You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on the newamericanmedia.com.
Hey everybody, thank you very much for sticking around with us. I am Brian Engelman, your humble host here on the Agree to Disagree program, where mostly all topics are fair game. You don't want to stray too far out of bounds, or else we will drop you from the program because we don't talk about, well, we just don't conduct ourselves that way. But most topics, you got to have the conversation. The TSA, we got to have that conversation. We're going to talk with Blake in a second. And for the love of God, we're talking about zombies coming up in just a couple of minutes with Josh Fernberg, zombie enthusiast. Josh had a very interesting quote, by the way. It was, I want it to happen. Talking about the zombie apocalypse. I want it to happen. I think that it would be fun. Okay. That's called a teaser. Does that pique your interest why this guy, Josh Fernberg, thinks it would be fun to have a zombie apocalypse? Look, it's not funny. It's ridiculous. It's horrible, but we got to talk about it. There's stuff going on in Miami. There's another story going on in Maryland where just humans are turning on humans literally, not figuratively, not just barking and disagreeing. I mean, turning on each other literally. So we're going to talk about zombies and cannibals and all that stuff, and if we can agree to disagree on those topics, most things are fair game. So without further ado, what we're going to do now is we're going to reach out to another regular contributor to the program. His name is Blake Wally. He is a radio host at Freedomizer Radio. Bring him in now. Interesting story about Blake.
Brian, what's going on?
Hey, Blake, I was just telling everybody, you are live on the radio, by the way. I was telling people that interesting story about Blake. Blake is on the air right now. So, yes, I think you are covering for another co-host over at Freedomizer Radio who did not take this slot. So you're doing two shows at once. I'm impressed.
Pretty much, exactly, yes. I'm on hold, and as soon as I'm off, I'm going to be going back to the other spot to finish out that show.
Very nice. Did you play like It's a Small World After All on repeat, or like La Cucaracha or something equally entertaining?
No, the other host is just going solo. She had a 6-hour block of time that she got stuck on, so she's looking for fellow hosts
6
to
hours?
help out. And I joined the call, and then, it's been just a crazy day.
Well, let's tell everybody man, it's been a crazy week. It's been a crazy life, really. I mean, hell, I'm talking about TSA fondling my buddy's testicles and, what do you say, banana? His marbles and his... We were trying to come up with clever PG-13 ways to say that he was sexually assaulted by the TSA. Twig and berries, yes.
Austin Powers, all right, plug.
I haven't watched Austin Powers in a while, and I think I'm going to toss it. I thank you for reminding me. I need to watch that. I'm overdue. But, I mean, we're talking about zombies, TSA, touching junk, and all the stuff you and I are going to get into. So, I mean, it is kind of...
I agree. I listened to part of that.
Yes.
The zombie apocalypse would be fun if it's like Shaun of the Dead, which is the English spoof of that, when they move in slow motion and they're kind of non-threatening. But it would not be fun if they have superhuman strength and, steel jaws or whatever, like some of these events that have been happening in Florida, or some of those other zombie movies when they just full-on, like, sprint at you and they got super strength. Well, that would not be fun.
What was the one, the Woody Harrelson one, the new one a couple years ago?
Zombieland. Zombieland.
So would it
That's excellent, too. And they run after you in there, too. They don't screw around, so there's only a few survivors left. But in Shaun of the Dead, it's fine, because they did these slow motion, so it's not that threatening. You can kind of keep them at a distance, so...
Well, let's talk about real quick where you're at. Tell people the radio show that you do, and once again for our listeners, by the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for watching us on YouTube. Tell some friends if you like the content matter that we get into here on the newamericanmedia.com, and click subscribe so that you get our new episodes. It's very easy, and we appreciate it. But we found Blake because we were, I don't know, like most people, I don't know if we're at much different, but maybe at, 9 p.m., midnight, 2 in the morning, you end up in the weird part of YouTube, and you're clicking things, and you clickety-clack, and you're... Anyway, the weird part of YouTube's hilarious to me, but in one of our discovery sessions, we found this thing about voter fraud in Nevada where you were able to capture on video somebody who was paid to wear a Ron Paul t-shirt and pass out fake Ron Paul credentials with fake Ron Paul delegates. It can be assumed that was from pretty much the only other person in the race, Mitt Romney. Who knows who actually paid this guy, if that was followed up on. But you were the New American Media there grabbing video. So that's how we found you a while ago and brought you into the program for our listeners who aren't familiar with you yet. So tell those same listeners now, if they know who you are and how you got connected with us, what you're doing at Freedomizer Radio, your blog site, etc.
All right. Just to quickly, I am a citizen journalist of sorts, contributor for the Activist Post, got blogger, vlogger, all that good stuff, and I happen to be a delegate here in Nevada, going to the Ron Paul, the state convention here in Reno a few weeks ago, and I busted some, basically a guy handing out fake ballots to trick the outcome of the vote. So I was able to get that on video, like Nevada Dirty Tricks, probably, to look that up on YouTube, like you were just mentioning.
Absolutely.
And that's it. That's how me and Brian got met, so to speak.
And tell them what you're doing on Freedomizer Radio, how they can find you there.
Oh, yes, and I'm also expanded out from writing on the Activist Post. I also have a Freedomizer. I also do a blog talk radio show called The Eccentric Perspective on Freedomizer Radio.
That's Freedomizer. Freedomizer.
Freedomizer. That's one big, long word.
You must articulate the words and enunciate the syllables. Freedomizer Radio.
Correct.
Okay, so they go to what? Freedomizerradio.com?
Freedomizer Radio, or just blogtalkradio.com, and look up Eccentric Perspective or any of that stuff. Yeah, Freedomizer Radio would be the best spot, and then we'll be able to find me. I'm on 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 12 to 1:30 Pacific time.
Well, let's get right into the topic, because I know you're doing your other show, and we're actually running behind because Mark had interesting content.
Yeah, we can sum this up, try to be quickly. I just wanted to give some update on the Bilderberg news. Of course, we got all kinds of craziness going over on Chantilly, Virginia, and all kinds of great activists are protesting that secret meeting.
What is the Bilderberg Group? What is the Bilderberg Group for those who aren't familiar?
Those are probably about, I think it's about 140 or so of some of the biggest movers and shakers, media, banking, finance, government, royalty, people that basically gather, some of the most powerful people in the world that gather in secret and discuss world events and what they're going to be planning for basically our future, supposedly.
Would you say this would be the 0.0000001%?
I would say it's really close. So
okay.
It's up there. It's definitely over the 1%. It's the big people determining how how they're going to coexist with the serfs
And so what is the
determine
event?
our financial future. Because they got a lot of issues to deal with worldwide with the financial meltdown.
You're correct about that. So
keeping everything together.
So what are they doing? They're just trying to figure out how to continue scamming the system, how to fix things, how to screw us over, and what's going on? Like what?
That is basically assumed because they meet in secret, and because even like New York, even like big prominent news organizations are aware of them, have worked with them, but they deliberately do not cover any of the news. I know there's a famous David Rockefeller quote out there. I wasn't prepared to talk about it, so I don't remember it offhand, but that's available, thanking them for their secrecy, Time Magazine, Washington Post, and all that stuff. So they try to keep a lid on this. They don't want to know that there's a big secret meeting with all these big power players. So, and they kind of run the media anyway. So it's assumed, and going from leaks and stuff, that they're usually up to no good and discussing some pretty nefarious things for the future.
And so this is going on, and I guess the biggest journalist out there covering this, in any legitimate way, would be Alex Jones, I suppose, with Infowars and what Alex.
Technically, well, yes. He's not the premier. The premier journalist expert on that is Jim Tucker, who's he's been covering it for decades. He is the premier expert, has moles on the inside and all kinds of sources. But yes, Alex Jones is definitely the most prominent activist. He's out there covering it and leading the charge. And he's got live coverage, actually. If people go to even Infowars.com, they got all kinds of live coverage there. There's also Intel Hub, and We Are Change is out there. Mark Dice is another one that's popping up lots of videos. There's all kinds of good information.
So what do people need to know? What do people need to know about this? Because if they've heard it for the first time from your mouth today, what is important that they need to know about these Bilderberg meetings? They
should want to know why the mainstream media is not covering that. I mean, if 140 of the most powerful people in the world are having a secret meeting, which is technically illegal, by the way. It is illegal for major people in the United States to have secret meetings with foreign officials. That's called the Logan Act, and it is a major issue. And when the media doesn't cover that, it's pretty telling.
It almost reeks of being complicit.
Right. I mean, if you had 140 of the most famous football or sports athletes all having a big secret meeting, you'd think the
well, they said LeBron
would
James.
cover that.
They said LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Pat Riley had secret conversations to agree to go play in
Yeah, those are
Miami
closed-door meetings. Yeah, those are
beforehand,
okay.
and that
Those
was
happen all the
technically
time.
collusion. But okay, so there's an actual law that says you can't meet behind closed doors because you might be cutting private deals to screw over the United States, and we are here to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, not to increase your checkbook and your holdings. Correct?
Yes, but the media will not say anything, and of course the law. I'm not exactly holding my breath for Eric Holder, our top cop, to go over there and
Top cop.
Enforce the law on any of these people. These people are way above the law. So, but there was some interesting news because last year they met in Switzerland, and there was, I guess they almost arrested Henry Kissinger. They have there's some good people in their government over there that were. And I think they broke the Bilderberg conference early that year. So, because of all the scrutiny. So there's all kinds. They've actually built a big fence around the perimeter. They were threatening machine gun nests. Supposedly there was bomb threats. They were planning all kinds of crazy stuff going on. They do not want people getting coverage of this event. So, but to jump in on the two major stories today, of course. One of the things that's been exciting is that a lot of these meetings, they supposedly pick the vice presidents and stuff like that, and a lot of these like unknown names will show up at these meetings, and then next thing you know, they're the vice president or the president or something like that.
Okay. Pause.
Bill Clinton was at one of these meetings. Yeah, Bill Clinton was at one of these meetings a long time ago when he was basically a virtually unknown guy, and the next thing you know, he's running for president and wins.
And something happened at one of these meetings where Hillary and Barack Obama both went in there, and Hillary was the leading contender, and then they walked out. Barack Obama had been selected, and Hillary was pretty much done at that point. That's been reported. Yes,
that's been reported. So this talk about the same thing. Of course, Biden is also, I guess, was named as I think at one of these meetings. I'm not 100%, but also Sarah Palin. So you kind of wonder, like, why would John McCain just all of a sudden just randomly pick some governor out of Alaska? Like, how did he even really know her? What was their connection? And supposedly these are these types of like big high-profile meetings where this kind of business gets done, and they pick VPs. They do all these kinds of things.
So what's the news coming out now? Is it regarding VPs?
Yes, there is a potential VP. Of course, one of the top VP nominee potential was Marco Rubio, and he was supposedly going to be invited to the Bilderberg. I don't know if he did or not, or if he made it there, or if there was actually some press coverage on it and he backed out. But Mitch Daniels, Indiana governor, has been potentially put on the, quote, short list for nominees. So he's kind of a creepy guy, and I just found out that he's a former vice president of a major company called Eli Lilly, which is a major global pharmaceutical company that's actually based out of Indiana there, and they are notorious for having all kinds of antipsychotic medications, including Prozac. So just interesting to note there. So will he be the next VP? Will he be the VP candidate for Romney? That is the question. And, of course, I don't want to take up too much of your time. You only got, about 12 minutes left in your show?
Yeah, you know what? Here's the beauty. Let me tell you, Blake. Here's the beauty. Yeah. I already notified Josh Fernberg, our zombie specialist, to talk about all these atrocities going on regarding humans eating humans. I don't know what is going on here, but when you're the producer, the engineer, when you run the show yourself, like this is the thing. Like you said that quote about, I think it was Rockefeller, that thank you for not reporting this stuff in the media. Like when consumer confidence disappears among the mainstream media, the dinosaur media, the lamestream media, whatever you want to call it, when consumer confidence disappears in a true capitalist society, people will start to arise, like Freedomizer Radio, like the NewAmericanMedia.com, like LionsOfLiberty.com, and we opt out of the propaganda channels and go to our own places where we can find information. We agree to disagree. I don't need to sell you any particular line of my BS, but we have our own conversations, and I think it's important that everyone understands, yes, we are behind in where we're supposed to be theoretically, but when I'm running it, I don't care, because I'd rather finish up this conversation, because this conversation is more important than meeting some arbitrary deadline. And when we post it up on YouTube, and we've had 16,000 people check out some of our most recent videos, which is nice, it's worth it to me if we run a little bit late, but that's what you can do when you're in charge.
Yeah,
but when you're bought and sold,
tough.
There's only so much you can do when you got to pay your sponsor that bought and sold you. So let her rip.
All right, so let me. I'll try to condense this anyway. So, but there's one of your big stories is, of course, yes. Who are they going to pick for the VP? It is Mitch Daniels, supposedly, or on that short list, and Mitch Daniels is in attendance, of course. So that is a violation of the Logan Act. But the big bombshell story is that so there's a few moles that are inside this meeting that are basically don't like the way that the future is going and are leaking the information, and so that's pretty interesting. But one of those guys, or whatever, those moles, leaked some bombshell information today. This was reported by Jim Tucker, like I said, the veteran guy, and it says, this is a Paul Joseph Watson article out of InfoWars right now, and it says, during a heated conversation in the lobby of the Westfield Marriott Hotel, Bilderberg members expressed their desire to see Ron Paul die in a plane crash, according to these inside sources. So they actually said, let's see here, wasting no time to shoot their mouths off. So once they actually, once the serfs were out of earshot and they're alone in their hotel and they're discussing amongst themselves, somebody actually expressed their desire to, quote, get Ron Paul and all of his supporters on an airplane with a Muslim suicide pilot and take him down, according to that source. So very disturbing. So you think when all these, these kind of corrupt big people are away from the cameras and they think they're in amongst their own company, this is how they talk about the lowly serfs.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
Bombshell. They want Ron Paul dead. So I would encourage people to go check out that Jim Tucker video, that YouTube video. It just says right there, source, Bilderberg wants Ron Paul dead, for people that want to go YouTube that. So
there's this comedian, I'm forgetting his name right now, but he says about getting pulled over by a police officer. By the way, I don't know if you can hear the static and stuff that's going on in our connection that did not exist until we started getting into this subject matter, which I find particularly interesting, because when you decide to stand up and draw your line in the sand and have these conversations, you notice funny little things happening with the NSA or with Big Brother.
What do you do? Like, what do you say?
The Patriot. You know what you say? You say, thank you for listening too, and I hope you have a conscience and soul and realize that you should stand up and have this conversation as well. You acknowledge it, and just imagine there's a third party always listening. Because with the Patriot Act, you know what? They are. But you know what? There's this comedian that was talking. His name is escaping me. I forget it, but it was classic.
I might be able to know.
He says he gets pulled over by a police officer, and he has contacts in. He has red contacts in, and the police officer says, pulls up and says, I'm gonna have to give you a ticket. You were speeding, whatever. And he looks at him with his red contacts. He says, "Oh, officer, I'm so sorry to hear about what happened to your family tomorrow." It was just like this funny. It was one of these monotone comedians, like a tall, skinny white dude. I just can't think of his name. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, like you said, it's like, it would be so unfortunate if Ron Paul were to be on a plane with a terrorist, terrible person who blows himself up. That would be horrible. It just reminds me of the same thing, like this stupid threat from a stupid person, thinking, like this is so much bigger than Ron Paul. This has nothing to do with Ron Paul, except that he happens to be the one guy who has the biggest megaphone right now, but there are 10 million. There are way more than one person. This isn't about Ron Paul. He's the least sexy candidate available. It's not because he's so damn charismatic people like him. It's because he's just speaking liberty and freedom, and that's been an American
he resonates
trait.
with the people, and they don't like that. So,
well,
their control.
Well, the situation is what it is. I mean, we'll see what happens with Mitch Daniels. We'll see if Ron Paul just decides to take the bus from now on. It's like one of those old mob movies, like about, better not start your own car. It's just nonsense.
You never know. That was another favorite way to assassinate people, or quote unquote assassinate people, was the plane crashes or car crashes. So you just never know.
And didn't Iran? What was it? Iran or North Korea? I think it was North Korea. They just had like 60 or 80 suspicious car crashes that killed all the political dissenters, right?
Yes, I guess if you're over there and you wouldn't know because they wouldn't probably cover it in their media. But yeah, over here it just looks completely bizarre. But I was just talking about, there was a guy on our show earlier, I guess, who has some connections to some secret stuff about the JFK assassination, and I remember there was a ton of car accidents that happened at that time over in Dallas for all of the witnesses, just mysteriously car accident one after the other. So,
well, the funny part about this, Blake, I mean, there's nothing funny about the Patriot Act, about the NDAA, about the fact that the United States is a battlefield, the fact that U.S. citizens can be black-bagged and snatched into an unmarked black van and held and detained against our will without legal representation for undefined periods of time. There's nothing.
Get a lawyer.
What's that?
I was like, that Lindsey Graham comment just keeps haunting me.
Which one?
You don't get a lawyer. You don't get a lawyer. And he's screaming that up in the halls of Congress with John McCain.
Yeah. It's funny to me. It's not a funny situation because it is time to stand up. And I've said to Blake and to Mark and a whole bunch of different people, it's time to take our thread and start weaving it together into one piece of fabric that cannot be pulled apart. We don't need to fight each other over Republican, Democrat, abortion, or gay rights. Stop all the distractions and focus on the problem here, because we need to unite, because there's no way this can be stopped. It's already done. This cannot be fixed. This cannot be controlled. This cannot be it can't be manipulated anymore. It's done. The game is up. I hope you enjoyed your experience ruling over everybody and screwing everyone over and ruining lives, because it's done.
Dude, it must have been fun. I envy them. It must have been a lot of fun in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and such, but now it's like, it's got to be really just horrible. The game is over. Which way do you want to go?
Well, let's hope we don't go to zombies, because who knows what they've been cooking up in the private labs. But I'll tell you what, Blake, thank you for joining us today. I know you got a show to go back to. Tell everybody,
thank you, and I won't,
tell everybody where they can find you again.
Quickly again, it's freedomizerradio.com, or you can probably check out my blog or my website at eccentricperspective.com. Thanks again for the plug, Brian, and maybe we'll have Brian on the show on this Monday here. We're still working that out, but we'll discuss.
Yeah, we recently did a show either last week or something within the past week and a half, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, we'll definitely join your crew and invite them over. Like I said, all of these strings need to be woven together into one tight-knit fabric now. The time is now. We got to move faster. We got to do more than we were doing yesterday, do more tomorrow than we did today, and let's just get it done, because it's our time to shine. They talk about the greatest generation. Well, I'll tell you what, they have not met us yet. Just wait until they meet us. Nothing against the greatest generation, but bring it. Whatever it is, I've been put on this planet for a reason at this moment in time in 2012. I'm ready for whatever it is, because what else am I supposed to do while I'm here? I'm not going to cower in fear under a rock or in a cave. It's time to stand on principles, and come on, what's more universal than freedom and liberty? The ability to govern and rule your own life as long as you're not infringing on the rights and liberties of other people next to you. It's so basic. That is the concept of America, and any politician, religious leader, any sort of person out there that's trying to divide us, you got to point at him and call him out as a charlatan, as a fool, as a manipulator, as an enemy. Because we are not divided, we're united. So that's my 2 cents, Blake.
More. Well said. No, well said. We should leave. I'm going to leave on that one. So,
perfect.
Good Let's get back to the zombie apocalypse here.
I can't wait. You know what? I'm just gonna play one quick little intro, and I'm gonna bring him right in because I can't wait to hear more about zombies. I know we're running behind, but hey, Blake.
I'll have to tune into the YouTube video later. I'll talk to you over the weekend. So have a good weekend, Brian. I'll talk to you next time.
You as well. Thanks a lot, Blake. That is Blake Wally with Freedomizer Radio. Yeah, it's just you get into these topics and it's kind of crazy. Here, let's remind everybody where you are at right now.
You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on thenewamericanmedia.com.